This is Dylan Gowan, a 17-year-old junior Clark Central student who has been working for months to try to get a cycling club started at his school.
There's really not a place for people my age that want to meet other people my age who are cyclists in town, surprisingly. I thought there would have been. There's a team in Atlanta, but that's Atlanta, it's a couple hours away. So there's nothing in Athens. So I was like, let me get something started and let's see where that goes.
Cycling is and always has been a prominent piece of this Athens community. Dylan has embraced that part of his community for months now and has coordinated with his teacher, Andrew Dean, to make it a special place in Clark Central.
Our principal really likes proposals, so he asked that Dylan or somebody provide him with a proposal for the club, kind of what its purpose is, who it's going to serve, what are some of the activities that we were going to do. Dylan made that. I made a couple of edits to it and then pushed it on up the ladder to the principal, and he approved it with the caveat that this is just to meet and to discuss cycling, but it is not to actually get on bikes and go ride around town. With high schools, there's the big liability issue, and so if you have any child participating in physical activity, there are series. You have to have a physical on file, you have to have insurance on file, you have to have parent emergency contacts on file. But beyond that, because it would be a new activity, like a new sport to the school, we would actually have to go through the Board of Education to get approval for something like that.
Since cycling is unable to be accepted as an actual sanctioned high school sport, it brings up the question if those directly involved in the cycling community, like Scott Long, executive director of Bike Athens, are pushing for the younger people to embrace this part of Athens as well.
I don't think you have a sort of a unified cycling movement. If there are people who are trying to do that in their own high schools, that's really cool, and some of them are going to be more successful than others. I know Cedar Shoals had a bicycle club called the Cedar Speeders, and that was something that they did, and they had help with one of the teachers who was really supportive of it, but then when those kids graduated, it went away. So the people who are interested in it and want to get their friends involved and want to make it a thing, one of the things that they can't forget is we have to make it sustainable. We have to get new people every year, the younger people. That way you got to keep it going, because the University of Georgia had the same problem. They had a group of people who thought it'd be cool to have a bike co-op, and they got all these they got grant money to do bike repairs. They got the first Bulldog bike sort of bike share on campus, and then they graduated and nobody was there, and just all the tools were just left in the closet. So it takes a lot of people to keep it going.
I think when I'm out riding, and kind of see the folks that are going out for long rides, it's a pretty broad spectrum of ages. And I think there is kind of a little small collective of middle schoolers and high schoolers that are riding, but it's not necessarily as widespread as basketball. And I think a lot of that has to do, it's very cost prohibitive. Bikes are expensive, especially when you start getting into competitive cycling. Those bikes can be, upwards of $10,000.
It's clear that cycling has struggled to make its way into the lives of high school students and that there's many issues to work around. But I talked with David Crow, who has been an avid cyclist in Athens for nearly 30 years. His love and admiration for the cycling community is unlike any other, which clearly indicates how special it is.
And it's cross-cultural, a lot of different socioeconomic groups, but the cycling community itself is a real close-knit, tight community. Organization called USA Cycling that tries to attract juniors and youth, and there is junior racing, but it is certainly something that could be improved upon. And as I said, there is sanctioned high school racing in the West, and hopefully as time goes by that will move eastward.